Namaste. We will begin with our Namaste. We will begin with our Mangalacharanam. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Om Sahana Bhavatu. Sahanau Bhunaktu. Sahaviryam Karavavahe. Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So we have been discussing about Vairagya. There was a small gap in the last week because of Ashtami. So we continue today. So today is Ashada Amavasya. So it's a very auspicious day for renunciation actually, and for reflection, etc. Generally Amavasya and Ashada Amavasya is very special. And we are very lucky, and I am very lucky here to be able to be with you all to discuss about Vairagya of all topics. So I'm very glad about that. So Guru Purnima, we were discussing Vairagya, and Ashada Amavasya also we are discussing Vairagya. That's wonderful. Right. So we saw in the last class, the video is available in the series, Nishta series in the School of Ancient Wisdom's YouTube channel. So we saw the Vairagya, like every other discipline, the three categories, Sattvika, Rajasika, and Tamasika. The three categories we saw, based on the gunas. Also, based on the level of Vairagya, we have mild, medium, and intense. And we know what is the benchmark definition of Vairagya. Benchmark definition of Vairagya is basically not hankering after any experience. They say pleasure, phala, bhoga, any enjoyment, basically, any enjoyment or any specific experience, a mediated experience through the mind and body. That's what it means here. Any experience here in this dimension of our terrestrial life or hereafter, whatever is promised by the scriptures, etc., after death. What they say is up to the level of Brahmaloka. So this is the definition of Vairagya. Iha para, here Iha para phala bhoga Vairagya. Not desiring anything in this life or afterlife. Then why are we living? We might get that question. So this definition of Vairagya becomes relevant only when we understand moksha as the Purushartha. Purushartha here means what an individual wishes to attain. An individual wishes to attain wealth, an individual wishes to attain some pleasures, an individual wishes to be righteous, an individual wishes to be free from all kinds of limitation, and or in other words, what is called as eternal life, moksha. So this moksha is a Purushartha, where one wants to be free from the cycle of birth and death. That is one definition. If you have really understood what it is basically self-realization. So we have that, that's another topic. And assuming that you have a basic understanding of moksha, I am proceeding with this. So the person who is desirous of moksha, for that person, this definition of Vairagya fits. So this is based on a mukshu, one who desires moksha. Vairagya is a qualification for pursuing self-knowledge, which gives moksha, or which is moksha, right? As a qualification. So Vairagya is one of the Sadhana Chatushtayam, they say, the fourfold qualification. And we were talking about Samadhi, Shatka, Sampatti and all that, right? So Viveka, Vairagya, Mumukshutva, Samadhi, Shatka, Sampatti. So Viveka, Vairagya, we are discussing, they are always together. And then in that, especially Vairagya. So in Vairagya, there are two types. So one is Apara Vairagya, the lower Vairagya, and Para Vairagya, higher Vairagya. The higher Vairagya is an automatic result of self-knowledge. There is no discipline or there is no practicing Vairagya there. A person, because of the virtue of self-realization, is automatically having Vairagya, because that Vairagya is something like a billionaire not hankering after some small petty, somebody says, hey, if you do that, I'll give you some 1,000 rupees, you will win 1,000 rupees. The billionaire doesn't care for that. The guy he's already a billionaire. So why does he want this 1,000 rupees? Or in other words, let us say when we have grown up as adults, we don't care for all those little toys that we wanted. We may appreciate it, that, oh, I used to like this so much when I was a kid, you might say. I used to like those cars, like boys, they say, or the different toys each child has. So as a grown-up, when you look back at the toy, you might appreciate that you liked it when you were a child, but you are not looking after the toy. You are not going after the toy as an adult because we have grown out of it, right? So a person, with an enlightened person, has grown out of the need for any mediated experience. There is no need, because of the fullness, because of the completeness of being oneself, one's true self. Because of realizing oneself as the Satchitananda, Satyam Jnanam Anantam, because of realizing oneself as such, automatically there is no desire for anything. When you understand oneself, when one understands oneself as the unlimited absolute, obviously, naturally, there is no desire for anything that is limited, anything that is conditioned, anything that is bound by time, anything that is temporary. Because of already owning up the permanent, there is no hankering after the temporary. Because of already owning up the infinite, there is no hankering after the finite. So this is Paravairagya. Now, this is the natural trait of an enlightened mind. But Apara Vairagya is what is the discipline, the Vairagya that we want to develop, the one that we want to learn how to bridge the gap between what is what is ideally prescribed as Vairagya, as the inner asset of Vairagya, and the actual reality of me experiencing Vairagya. So how does Vairagya, how am I experiencing the value? How am I enjoying the value of Vairagya in my everyday life? So this bridging the gap is what we are discussing about. Now, here, as a spiritual aspirant, I am talking about what we conceptually understand as good to have Vairagya for. Okay, I understand that I should have Vairagya for this. A simple example, a diabetic person should have Vairagya for not eating sweets. Vairagya for sweets. A diabetic person is highly craving sweets and is not going to have sweets. This person is going to suffer because there is a conflict. There is a desire. The person is tormented by the desire, and the object of desire is available but cannot be enjoyed. Right? So there is this restlessness inside. So if the person has Vairagya for the sweets, in different ways that we will discuss, like Tamasic or Rajasic or Sattvic, whatever is the version, if the person has Vairagya for the sweet, there is lesser tormenting of the desire to have that sweet. It's a very simple everyday example, right? So Vairagya, why is it an inner asset? Because I understand that I should not have it, but I find from inside me there is a force wanting it. Then I am constantly struggling with it. Or I am trying to find the justifications. There are different levels in which the desire operates. I understand conceptually in a good state of mind when I am not very disturbed, when I am not tormented, once the desire has calmed down, when the desire is not operating. So we all have a moment when we want something a lot. There are moments when we are not wanting, where the desire is not active. So when the desire is not active for whatever reason, we are able to talk about that object of desire in a sensible manner. We are able to rationally deal with that desire, analyze it, and say that, yes, I should not be going behind it. Especially in the case of addiction. Let us say addiction, there are these normal cravings and addiction. So these are the basic problems of our everyday life, especially in our current times, craving and addiction. Craving for different things and addiction. These two are a little different. Craving is based on samskara. Addiction is one step more, it's grosser. Addiction is it's a pattern taking over, a pattern of activity of the mind, of the prana, of the senses, a pattern, a nervous condition, a pattern of the nervous system taking over our judgment and taking over our sense faculty and pushing us. Inability, addiction has more tamas in it, while craving is more rajasic in nature. Craving is more rajasic, addiction is more tamasic. So in that way, addiction is a more, it's a lower level of, or it's a more fallen state. So addiction is in a more fallen level because the tamas component is more, and in craving the rajas component is more, where the personal desire aspect is more. So when I am not able to satisfy it, I might feel frustrated, or I might feel sorry about my life. What is the point if I cannot enjoy and all that, right? So craving. So craving beyond the point can disturb my judgment. So with respect to making the correct judgment regarding that indulgence, I might have a problem because the craving has taken over my faculty of reason. I am finding different reasons to satisfy the desire. When the desire is active, when the desire is not active, I am able to talk about it sensibly. When the desire is not active, I am able to talk about it sensibly. I am able to say that, okay, yeah, I think, yeah, I know what happens, but when I get that desire to have that sweet, it becomes so impossible. I get so restless. I really need it. It's really difficult. I really need that sweet at that time. Otherwise, I feel if I don't get it, if I don't have a sweet for 3-4 days, I feel very sorry. And I feel my life is empty. All kinds of things, this. So sugar craving, all that. So this, for a diabetic, when the sweet craving is not there, it is easy to reason about. Right? Similarly, for different desires, I want a car, nice car, or I want a nice house, I want a nice motorbike, or I want some nice latest collection of these designer clothes. Like this, each person has different things. So when that desire gets activated because of some advertisement or something, or some neighbor is wearing, the neighbor is wearing, the neighbor has bought that latest model, whatever car that has launched, I have not bought. The neighbor is having a S class, I am having only a E class Mercedes. 7 series, 5 series. So there is a problem. So I am in the billionaires club, but still I am the number 10 billionaire. I am not the first billionaire. If you go in every section of life, in every segment of life, there are these ups and downs. There are these. So with respect to status, there is dissatisfaction, there is desire. So we have different kinds of desires. We have a desire that is based on some sensory enjoyment, like I said, a sweet for a diabetic. So that kind of thing is handled in a different way. That's because it's more silly. It's easy to reason about it. So then it is about taking some disciplines and meditating on it, thinking about the negative consequences of eating sweet, and then they find then we can have. Don't worry. What is that? If you don't have sugar, the 0-calorie sweetener. There is a sweetener. It's extracted from sucralose. So we have made sweets from sucralose. There will be absolutely no problem with your sugar level. It will not boost your sugar level. Now a diabetic can enjoy all the sweets. And a guy opens a business. Somebody opens a business making sweets for a diabetic. So all the diabetics are very happy. So after 5 years, after 10 years, you find that artificial sweetener is destroying all your gut bacteria. Then you cannot have that. So it is better to have a sweet, proper sugar-based or integral sugar or this, this brown sugar or whatever, that based or jaggery or palm sugar-based sweets in a limited measure with discipline is better than having sweets made from artificial sweetener. Then you have that. So if you try to work around nature, if you try to cheat nature, then there are consequences. That always happens. So if the nature provides something, nature provides a bhoga. So when we have a bhoga from the nature in a natural way, it has a completeness about it because it comes from Ishvara. It comes from the entire universal intelligence works to create a sugar cane. Entire universal intelligence works to to create certain combinations. So when there are indigenous cultures where we have developed certain enjoyments, where the people are living in tune with nature, where they are not over smart with some education and then try to cheat nature. Instead of that, certain enjoyments, bhogas, are naturally evolved over centuries in indigenous cultures everywhere. If you see them, they have the wholesomeness about it, and the side effects are very less, and people start understanding it over a period of time. It may be very cumbersome to do that, but over a period of time, by making mistakes, or scientists have understood how important it is to have the natural combination. So everybody was excited about isolating the vitamins from the plants. So you isolate vitamin C and have only ascorbic acid, vitamin C, vitamin C, vitamin C. And then you find that most of the vitamin C goes in your urine. It doesn't assimilate in the body. Then you're looking at why the vitamin C that comes in the nature in the fruits, like in a lemon or in the lemon juice or in acerola and things like this, how does it assimilate in the body? While my extracted laboratory made vitamin C isolate is not absorbed in the body like that. Why? Then they say in the nature, there are so many what they call as phytofactors. There are different chemicals that are in the plant that come along with the vitamin C that helps the vitamin C to get absorbed in the body. When it comes in a certain combination, it is able to be absorbed by the body. Then there are no side effects, etc. Right? So then they find out that a natural indulgence is better than trying to cheat. So when you don't try to cheat nature and you accept a normal bhoga is there. It's a normal, natural enjoyment is there. We accept it. We appreciate it. There's nothing wrong in appreciating it. But I am in a situation where I should develop a certain maturity about that enjoyment. I am not, my body condition does not allow me to enjoy that. Right. So instead of trying to cheat nature and somehow have that enjoyment, Vairagya helps us to learn to grow out of that enjoyment. It's called growing out of that. Like how we don't want the toys that we wanted as a kid. A Vairagya, a functional Vairagya for cravings is probably, there are two things we can do. One, we see, remember all the time that I have enjoyed it. This is one exercise, cognitive exercise we can do for Vairagya. This kind of cravings, right? We can do a mental exercise. Remember the last time you had that satisfaction. You enjoyed that sweet. Why do I want that enjoyment? Why do I want that sweet? Because I have already had that sweet and I had enjoyed it. That was a beautiful experience. Nice, appreciate that experience. Remember it. Right. So before the sweet, there was no experience. While having the sweet, I enjoyed it. And after some time, the experience stopped. I'm satisfied. Okay. Now, can I keep on having only that sweet? Beyond a point, it becomes, the system doesn't want it anymore. It is not as enjoyable. Second sweet, third sweet, fourth sweet, it is not as enjoyable. So the enjoyment of that sweet is basically my brain state. What I actually want from that enjoyment, actually I want is not that sweet, but the certain inner experience that I get when I have that sweet. This is what I want. So when I understand that, see, the mind is mapping. When I have that sweet, when I had that sweet, there was a nice experience. every time I had that sweet, there was this nice experience. So what am I mapping? My mind is instinctively mapping my nice experience to that sweet. So instead of wanting that inner experience, it wants the sweet. It thinks that I want this sweet. This sweet gives me happiness. This sweet gives me the nice experience. So the buddhi is seeing this sweet equal to nice experience. But actually what is happening? The brain state created during the enjoyment of the sweet, when the sweet touches my taste buds and is activated, there is a certain nervous experience in my brain that which I am enjoying. Right? So that's what is pleasure. So pleasure is an inner experience. It is centered on me. It is not centered on that object. First understand that. I understand that, right? Okay. So now I am decoupling. I am disconnecting my superimposition of the joy over that object. I am disconnecting the connection between the pleasurable experience and the object. It is not the object that I want, but it is basically the pleasurable experience in my brain is that what I want. When I understand that, now I am free from the object. And I am available to work with my inner experience. So this is the first step of dealing with any kind of craving. This is the first practical cognitive exercise in Vairagya. What I have to do, any object. So now I gave an example of a simple sweet. It could be a relationship. Like there is a beautiful discussion in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. It says, Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. It is for the sake of the self that something is desired, something is lovable, something is liked, not for its own sake, but for one's own sake. A husband is loved not for the sake of the husband, but because the husband brings some value to me. It is because I love myself that I love the husband, because that husband who is loved, he is loved because he contributes to me, my happiness in some way. Actually, what I want is my happiness. I don't want the husband. If the husband starts tormenting me, I don't want the husband anymore. If the wife is loved because she contributes, I think that she contributes to my happiness. I love myself, and because I love myself, whatever is nice to me, I love that. So only something that is nice to me, I like, not because of for its own sake. Nobody loves anything for its own sake. Everybody loves anything only for one's own sake. This is the fundamental principle. When we understand this, we understand the mechanism of desire. So if I want to rise above desire, when I want to grow out of the desiring, I need to understand how the desiring process works. If I desire anything not for its own sake, I desire anything for my own sake. So somebody was in love, a relationship, that relationship broke, or they broke up or whatever, or they divorced or whatever. This is a simple thing happening all the time today. And then, going through that, or pain and the crying and all that, and all the drama around that, right? Okay. Now, a simple exercise. I want that person. I want to be in relationship with that person. Now, why I want this person and not some other person? Why I want this person? Oh, because that person is, when I am with that person, I feel like this. So that person makes me feel in a special way. When I am with that person, I feel I am able to enjoy certain pleasures when I am with that person, and which I am not able to have with any other person. So it is basically, I may be making it very I may be it may sound like I'm oversimplifying it, but if we honestly sit and think about it, there is absolutely no difference in preferring a person or preferring let us say there is this there is, let us say, there is some kind of a delicacy like a halwa, right? So this halwa, there are 3 shops selling halwa. So I like the halwa only from that shop, because that shop, there is Tirunelveli some Irrittukada halwa, very famous. Irrittukada means the dark shop. I don't know. It's called dark shop halwa, very famous from Tirunelveli. The Tirunelveli Irrittukada halwa, the original Irrittukada halwa. So now there are 100 Irrittukada halwas trying to copy because that one shop's halwa is highly sought after. Right? Okay. So there is one original thing, and then there are 100 duplicate things. So similarly, there is this for this halwa. Now I like that original Tirunelveli Irrittukada halwa. Let us say, right? So I want only that. Why I like this over everything else? Because of so reason. Because only that shop's halwa is able to generate that special experience of that enjoyment. Right? Now, how is the relationship with a person different from that? Only because of my association with this person. It's a more complex experience. Halwa is a simple experience. There is only one variable, the variable of taste. In a relationship, there is ego, there is mental states, there is emotion, there is sensory experience, then there is social experience. All kinds of things are put together. So in the relationship, it's very complex. Because it involves a lot of faculties inside us, a relationship looks more meaningful, it's more serious, and it's also more difficult when something goes wrong. It's more difficult to handle because so many faculties are involved and so many layers and levels of frustration is involved. So it's very difficult. I understand that. But I don't love this person. Nobody loves anyone. Everybody loves only oneself. This is a very, it's like on your face, it's like a slap on the face from the Upanishad. It tells you, Atmastu Kamaya Sarvam Priyam Bhavati. When I really understand that, it becomes absolutely not a problem to decouple my desire for any object. That object could be a simple sensory enjoyment, like it could be a coffee or a halwa, or it could be a person, a relationship, or it could be some social status, or it could be some ownership and assets. It could be any kind of thing, any type of desire for any kind of object or any kind of state or experience. I just see that I want this not for its own sake, but for my own sake, because it contributes this to me. So when I have that, this happens to me. When I don't have that, I am not able to, somehow I am able to get this inner experience or feel myself in a certain way when I am associated with this object. This is all. Then all my attention shifts to what I actually want. What I actually want is not that object or that person or that situation or that experience, but what I actually want is the inner experience, how I feel myself when I am in the possession of that object or that situation. When I am associated with that object or with that situation or with that person, how I feel about myself and how I feel inside. So what I seek is this inner experience that is generated as a result of association with that outer object. It's as simple as it. When I understand that this is what I want, what I actually want is this inner experience, not that object or that person. When I see that, immediately I am ready to work with my I'm ready to work with my subjective environment. Now, I am ready to work with my mind, with my attitude, with my values, and with my my faculties, and all my inner faculties and my inner experience. I'm ready to work with that, analyze that, understand that, and be more I am able to objectively analyze, understand, and appreciate exactly what I want, and I'm able to decouple from that object. If I love a person, it is because of the qualities, certain qualities in that person that I appreciate. Now, there could be 100 people with the same qualities. Again, why I want those qualities? Because I feel that I lack those qualities, or when I am in association with those qualities, I feel in a certain way. Now, is it the only way to enjoy that? Is the only way is by associating with a person with that qualities, or I could generate those qualities and live those qualities in me by myself. It's a different topic. So every desire for every person is to be analyzed in a unique way. It's a unique situation. Every relationship is a unique situation. Every desire is a unique situation. Every person who is working with a desire is in a unique situation. So we cannot have a, so when it comes to specific ways of dealing with it, we have to deal in a case by case basis. But the general principle, one of the first cognitive exercises we can do with respect to any kind of craving for any kind of object is that this object I want, not I actually what I in my wanting this object, in my wanting this object, what I actually want is not the object. What I actually want is how that object makes me feel. So it is this inner experience is that what I actually want and not the object. First that. Then the second step, inner experience. So when we come to the inner experience, we see, okay, it's what is this inner experience where we understand this is where basic Vedanta yoga, this psycho philosophy, all that, our yoga psychology, it comes in very handy. Understanding, in psychology, neuropsychology, they say in terms of these hormones, this neurotransmitter, dopamine, serotonin, and all that they say. So in yoga, we say manas, buddhi, chitta, ahankara, and then we say what is the bhoga buddhi, and then kartritva buddhi, bhoktritva buddhi, the state of being an enjoyer, the state of being a doer or an enjoyer, and then we have this klesha, the concept of kleshas we have, likes, dislikes, ragadvesha, abhinivesha, clinging to situations. Then we have asmita, which is the certain cognitive process that makes us see ourselves as the doer and the enjoyer, which makes us lose ourselves in a situation. That is asmita, that limited experience of oneself, which is defined by situations and experiences. This is asmita. And then avidya is basic ignorance of not experiencing myself as in my true nature, as the pure consciousness that is beyond the mind and the body, not knowing me as that leads to seeing me in the wrong way, in the way that I am not, seeing me in a limited way that is constrained and defined and tortured by situations. That self-definition which is based on situations, that self-definition which is based on the mind and body, what we call a dehatma buddhi, all that comes because of the ignorance and avidya, and then we go to viveka, jnana, and all that comes. So the entire gamut of spiritual knowledge is basically to liberate our sense of self, that's what I see as myself, as I am. To liberate this I am from all the wrong this entire matrix of wrong identifications based on external situations, based on external experiences, sensory experiences, based on the body, based on the condition of the body, based on the different urges and emotions that we feel, based on the different thought structures, based on different identities that we have developed about ourselves, based on different ideas about ourselves, what we call a self-concept. We are stuck in all these kind of different ideas. So myself, when I say I am, the moment I say I am, who am I? Somebody asks you, who are you? Then we always, when the sense of I comes forth, it comes forth with a package. Right? So when I say I am, the sense of I am comes forth with a package. It comes forth in the package of, in a professional package. I am so and so. The self-definition based on my work, self-definition based on my relationship. So based on the context, a certain kind of self-definition comes forth when I say I am. And then I am seeing myself only through that definition. So if I remove all these props, if I remove all my relationships, if I remove my profession, if I remove my assets and my ownerships and my status, if I dismantle everything, that pure I am, most of us are not even comfortable to experience and stay with that. If they feel very insecure, they immediately they want to grab something. So this is what happens after death also, that spirit wants to grab something. We are always used to experiencing ourselves within certain situational structures. We have never isolated that pure I, like what Sri Shankaracharya says, like how inside a bamboo there is a skin. Then how you remove that skin from inside of the bamboo, like that, so subtle process, cognitive process, you isolate that sense of self from all its associations in the body and the mind. Yes, that's amazing. It's an amazing example. It's a very subtle discrimination, which is called viveka.
So for Vairagya, we need Viveka. Viveka empowers Vairagya. But Vairagya also empowers Viveka. How does it do that? So the one thing I told you is to disconnect from the object and understand what I want is this inner experience and not the objects. When I relive that understanding again and again in every enjoyment, every time it's a simple thing like you want something very much, you get that. Once you get that, you feel good. Spend some time with that feeling. You really wanted to buy some latest collection of some branded clothing, right? You got it. Yeah, I have it, and you are wearing that in the front of the mirror. I got it now. I'm wearing this. Let's say some Armani or something, right? You're wearing that. You feel good. Now, stop a minute and analyze that. Just stay with that feeling. Completely, you are owning up that. Now, this feeling. How was I feeling before I get that? Suppose then when you remove that and change to normal clothes, and this dress is hanging there. For a moment, you think it's not mine. I have to give it back tomorrow. So how do I feel? And then it's yours. So if it is mine, if it is not mine, there are two states of mind. When we observe and stay with that, just stay with that feeling of how you feel about yourself when you own that object, and when you own the dress, and when you don't own the dress. That state of mind and this state of mind. Just simple experience, nothing else. Just spend time with that. Usually what we do, we don't spend time with the inner experience in an objective attitude. Whenever we obtain our desire, whenever our desire is satisfied, we rush into the next desire. We are okay, happy, fine. Then we celebrate, and then we don't pay attention to that, and we immediately rush to the next experience. Or next desire something, we get busy with something else. No, when you satisfy a desire, stay with that experience. Okay, now I see how it is. Just objectively appreciate that. That's it. Then you move ahead. Similarly, you want something very much. Okay, let us say you want something before you attain the desire. So what I said now is after you satisfy the desire. So before you satisfy the desire, you want that object. Stay with that wanting. I want this object. If I get it, how I feel. Imagine that you got it. How do you feel? Okay. Suppose if I don't get it, how do I feel? Watch that. It's a thought experiment. Just stay with that. Spend some time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. We never do that. Now, when we start doing that, we make it a habit. We make it a habit to stay with the craving without rushing to satisfy it, to understand the craving as an inner experience. I am craving for something. I spend time with the craving and I just watch it. I don't try to satisfy it. I am not rushing to satisfy it. I'm listening to the craving. I totally accept the craving. I totally accept the desire. I watch it. I stay with it. This is Viveka. I stay with it. It's one type of Viveka. And I stay with this craving in an attitude of wanting to understand how this craving, I understand this, I see this craving as an inner process. And satisfaction of that craving, attaining that object leads to the silencing of that craving. I see that. So in this awareness, I grow and satisfy that craving. A simple thing like thirst, you can start with simple things. A thirst, wanting a coffee, some sweet. It's kind of, I have to read the newspaper. You see, where is the newspaper? Oh, I'm looking for the newspaper. Stop. Okay. Or social media. You want to click on your Instagram or whatever, Facebook or whatever, right? So I want to know what is happening. What is the update? Some cricket match is going on. What is the score? I want to know. So the moment there is a movement towards an object, towards an experience, watch that. Don't go behind it. Watch it. Make it a habit. Make it a habit in small things, in very little everyday things. Then what happens? That habit that you You strengthen that muscle, you strengthen that viveka muscle. It becomes like it's a contemplative muscle. It's like how you train your muscle. You train that contemplative faculty, and that faculty becomes, more and more tangible for you. That way of approach to the mind becomes more and more tangible. So when we do that, we learn to objectify our desires and cravings. That is one of the first steps in Vairagya. And then when we do that, we will be able to see when you are getting satisfied, you will be able to see that satisfaction as an inner experience and not as obtaining success over obtaining that object. So the object will not be as important as your inner experience anymore. So you'll get used to that. And then you will be able to see in real time, you will be able to see what I actually want is this inner experience and not that object. It's a very different kind of a cognitive state where you're very clear that what you want is the inner experience. It is not actually the object. It is actually what I feel when I have that object. So then you are more keen on understanding this feeling. So this is a circuit. So you understand that this is some kind of a circuit inside you, and you learn to spend time with that. When you learn to spend time with that, we are immediately the attention, all your faculties, you will be able to let go of the object. There is no rush to grab that object. The mind is not rushing towards that object anymore. You will feel that reduction in that rush. And then we have an opportunity to work with our inner environment. We have an opportunity to understand that process of desiring, and we can analyze the desire and decide how much to satisfy, not to satisfy, or whatever. So then that is first level of Vairagya we're able to see. And then once we start understanding the desire, we can start looking at the whole process of desiring itself, not with respect to one object. When we develop this habit, we will understand how the process of desiring is working inside us. How I am able to enjoy is because how I am able to see myself as the enjoyer. So from the object, we shift the attention to the process of enjoyment. As we spend more time with the process of enjoyment, I am more available to analyze myself as the enjoyer. That is one step subtler. It's one step subtler. It's a little difficult. But once you are able to analyze the experience of enjoyment, we are able to objectively spend time with that experience of enjoyment without rushing and without saying yes to the craving, without letting the craving drive you. If you are able to analyze and objectively stay with the process of desiring, then one fine morning, our attention will be sharp enough to experience oneself as the enjoyer, to be able to see oneself in an objective manner, to see oneself as the enjoyer. I enjoy this or I suffer this. Every time I am associated with a pleasant experience, I am the enjoyer. I am associated with an unpleasant experience, I am the sufferer. So what happens? We have something called as a kartrutva buddhi. So this is what happens when we practice by this kind of vairagya. When we practice, what we call as viveka starts awakening. What is this viveka awakening? Viveka awakening means instead of being a busy doer. Who is a busy doer? Oh, I want something. Okay, I do whatever is necessary to get that. Okay, then I want that. Do whatever is necessary to get. So the person is always rushing behind accomplishing different objectives. Always wants to do this, do this, do that. A very strong doership. It's called it's called kartrutva buddhi. A simple thing. A mosquito is biting us. It's an unpleasant experience, right? At the moment the mosquito stings in a park, we go and sit in the park, mosquito comes and sits on. Immediately we do it, right? Now or we do that. You're ahimsa, so you are, you do like this. You don't hit the mosquito. You do like that. Whatever. or a pleasant experience. There is a nice breeze. Then we say, nice breeze. Right. So the moment, or we say, immediately, I want to enjoy this breeze a little more. So we open the button and loosen up our shirt. And then we try to get the breeze, or open the arms and enjoy the breeze. Like the Titanic movie, they stand on top of that ship and open your arms like that. Right? So that is an action. The moment there is an experience, the moment there is a little more than plain, a little intense experience in terms of pleasure or pain, or a promise of a pleasurable experience or a threat of a painful experience, both. Either there is a painful experience or a threat of a painful experience, or there is a pleasurable experience or promise of a pleasurable experience. Immediately, my doership, I swing into action, try to do something about it. Pleasurable experience, I try to repeat it, I try to sustain it, I try to grab it, sustain it, repeat it. Painful experience, I try to do things to avoid it, or I try to do things to get rid of it. And I try to do things to prevent it from happening again. Right? So this, me suffering that pain, me enjoying the pleasure is the enjoyer, bhokta. Now that me as the bhokta drives me into action for either wanting it or not wanting it. I want it or not want it. That is karta, or the doer. Me as the experiencer activates me, the doer. Right. So, but when I am practicing this vairagya, not running, so I am resisting the doer from getting activated. Every time the doer is activated, I convert the doer into the thinker. Instead of the doer, I am thinking. That is also doer. It's the same Vijnanamaya, we say. It is the same buddhi. Instead of looking for solutions and instead of looking for what to do, instead of working with the organs of action, commanding the organs of action, it creates a habit of observation. I am converting that into observation. So, doer mind, a mind of a doer becomes a mind of a thinker. Thinker in the sense, I become more and more contemplative. Or I am training my buddhi from being a problem solver in terms of doing things. I am turning that into nature of turning that into the type of problem solver in the cognitive level. In the sense, I solve the problem in my understanding. I don't solve the problem in action and result of action. There is action. There is a result of action in terms of different experiences and changing objects and positions and ownerships. Instead of that, that buddhi is, what they call as IQ, that problem solving and to get things done. Instead of getting things done out there, I retrain my buddhi to develop a deeper understanding of I turn the buddhi upon myself. I turn the buddhi upon the processes of the mind, and instead of running behind an object, the buddhi tries to understand. It's a very different quality of mind. A different quality of mind. Doer mind becomes a contemplative mind. A very busy doing mind becomes a contemplative mind. A worker mind becomes a thinker mind. We change the quality of the buddhi. In technical terms, we are training the buddhi to become more sattvic, less rajasic and more sattvic. A more sattvic buddhi is more devoted to knowledge. A more rajasic buddhi is devoted to action and ownership of the results of action. So this is one kind. So this power of observation, training the buddhi to develop this power of observation is one kind of practice. And this is very difficult. It is not going to come overnight. But how to make this easy? So this is a practice. This is a discipline, right? It's a contemplative, it's a cognitive practice. Now, how to make it easy? is by following what is called as Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is a discipline which we can follow in everyday life. I know only to be the doer, sir. I don't know all this contemplation, sir. I know I have to do this, I have to do that. Now, I am a very active person. I'm a very achievement oriented person. I'm a very action oriented person. I am a very result oriented person. Good, great. You're a very active person. Good. Karma Yoga. What is Karma Yoga? What we do in Karma Yoga? Whatever, first I understand my actions. The things I am supposed to do. I segregate all my activities into these categories. Things I like to do, things I am supposed to do, things I am not supposed to do, but I like to do. Things I am supposed to do, but I don't like to do. So in things I supposed to do, I have the things that I like and I don't like. In the things I am not supposed to do, but I like, or I am compelled to do. So we have all these categories, right? And things that I like to do, but I could, it's not, I'm not supposed, it is not, I am supposed to do. It is not essential, but it is not prohibited. I can do. If I don't do, no problem. But nothing wrong in doing that. Okay, if I enjoy doing that, I can do that. I may do that. But it's not necessary. If I don't do that, I am not refraining from my duties. There are things like that, right? So we do that. So in our everyday situations, we generally, what happens is, I am always motivated by the result. I do something, I am successful in that endeavor, I experience the result, I get the desired result or get more than the desired result, then I get motivated to do that. Then there are things that I am supposed to do, I do. There is a action A I do, then is there action B I do. This action A gives me good results. So I'm motivated to do this A again and again. Then there are this action B I am doing, but somehow this B is not giving me result. So every time I do put a lot of effort, but I'm not getting what I'm supposed to get. It's very demotivated. So I'm very demotivated in doing B, but I'm very motivated in doing A. This is normal mind. Reward-driven action, right? Karma Yoga cuts this cycle. Don't make the reward the motivation for your action. A death blow to that circuit. This is the brain circuit, the rat brain. Rat brain is what? It is always working for reward. But a mature brain, a human brain, has a certain capacity not to be motivated by reward, but to be motivated by dharma. So what Karma Yoga says is, may dharma be your motivation, not result. Let the result not be the motivation, but dharma be the motivation. May the righteousness be the motivation, not the reward. So it is not a reward-driven mind, but it's a righteousness-driven mind. So as a righteous, so I will, between my choice of actions, I will choose only the righteous actions, irrespective of the reward. My best common sense and my intelligence and my scriptural knowledge, spiritual intelligence, whatever, put all my intelligence together, and what I understand as the righteous choice action, I will choose that. Sometimes the righteous action will not give me, I know if I do the righteous action, I will not get the reward. If I do the non-righteous approach, I will get more than the reward that I require, but I still choose the righteous action, irrespective of the reward. So I am not reward driven. First check for desiring. Then, after choosing the righteous action, I am doing my best, and there is tremendous success. Immediately disown the success. Say this success belongs to Bhagavan. We say, Karma Yoga says, offer the result of your actions to the Lord in the form of your Ishtadevata, or in the form of your Guru, or in the form of, if you don't like all these, this new age stuff, universe. So you say that, all the credit goes to the universe, all the credit goes to Lord Shiva, all the credit goes to my Kuladevata, all the credit goes to my Guruji, whatever. Some higher principle that is a representation of the Lord, or so that is selfless, or you say all the result goes to my team, all the result goes to the society that supported me. Don't take the credit. So whenever there is success, don't take the credit. Whenever there is failure, don't define yourself based on the failure. Learn your lessons, but don't own up the success or the failure. So the failure will not demotivate you. Success will not become the only reason for motivation, because then just for the sake of success, I may choose what is not right is. So in Karma Yoga, we do that. We first disconnect the choice over action we disconnect the choice over action and the result. The result is not going to drive me anymore. Instead, righteousness will drive me. Then at the time of experiencing the result, I disconnect the ownership. There will be no ownership over the result. I disown the result to some higher principle that is above me, that is beyond me, right? This is Karma Yoga. When we keep on doing this, when all our actions become karma, instead of karma, all our actions are backed by this attitude of yoga, then all our actions become Karma Yoga. Then what happens? The brain circuit slowly in the background changes. So naturally the result is not driving me. So what happens is the bhoktritva buddhi, that defining of myself based on the reward, is what is bhoga buddhi. So that bhoga buddhi becomes less in the background. It happens without your knowledge. It happens very quietly in the background. It's like a maturity, no? It's like a certain kind of an inner maturity that happens behind without our knowing. And suddenly you will see that choosing what is righteous instead of choosing what will give you the reward. Right? Whatever reward I get via righteousness is enough. So righteousness becoming my motivation suddenly becomes so natural. For a bhogi, the reward-based choice of action becomes, it's what is very natural. As much as that is natural for a bhogi, for a yogi, righteousness is the more natural motivation. You don't even have, the person doesn't even have to think. Naturally righteous, you start becoming naturally righteous. You just can't choose, do something. It's like, you say, I cannot do something only because it gives me money. It has to be the more meaningful thing. It has to be the right thing. Okay, it gives me less money, so what? But this is more meaningful. There are people who say that. So that is so you are not reward. Suddenly you find that you are not reward driven anymore. So that opens up the ability to be a more contemplative person. And the observation exercise that I talked to you about, that becomes easier. So gradually over a period of time, from a very result-driven, action-driven person, a worker mind, your buddhi becomes of more contemplative nature. The Rajoguna reduces and the Sattva Guna starts increasing. And as the Sattva Guna starts increasing, the contemplative nature becomes more, and Vairagya becomes much easier. It becomes much more easier to cognitively decouple your connection with the objects that tempt you, and then turn the attention to the inner processes of desiring. And then when we do that, Viveka starts awakening, and Viveka starts supporting the Vairagya. And then you will be able to see the inherent defect in all the enjoyments. When Viveka is not operating, the inherent defect in the worldly enjoyments, it will be difficult to see that. But once Viveka awakens, we will be able to see the inherent defect in all the different time-bound enjoyments and the limited pleasures, and this whole life driven by going behind pleasure and avoiding pain. This entire struggle process, we'll be able to see the inherent defect in this entire process, what is called as samsara. This entire samsara, what is the fundamental limitation in this samsaric way of living, this whole process of becoming, we will be able to see very crystal clear as this Viveka. So that by these practices, we can improve Vairagya, which will feed Viveka. And as Viveka increases, Vairagya becomes easier. So that's how we do. That's how we bridge the gap between the ideal of Vairagya and our actual reality of being continuously driven by Raga Dvesha. How to rise above Raga Dvesha and enjoy the inner asset of Vairagya. This could be an approach. In fact, this is the traditional approach. Please try that. And if you have any questions in your practical application, then of course write to me and I will answer your questions. So we will continue our discussions on this Vairagya and probably Viveka and some other topics in the coming Mondays in our Nishta series. Yeah, thank you. We will finish it with our Mangalacharana. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavadishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Thank you.